Beautiful. And once we're done setting up register functionality, before we do the same thing with a login one, I also want to install one more package. And the package name is going to be Morgan, which is a HTTP logger middleware. And why it's very useful? Well, because as we start setting up more routes and controllers, it's very cool to see what is the route that we're hitting, as well as the method and the status code. Yeah, with just one register, I mean, we clearly kind of knew that. But again, the more routes and controllers you have, it becomes very, very useful. And pretty much Morgan has become a standard for that. Now, if you want to find out more info, just please follow this link. The setup is pretty typical. Again, we go with npm I Morgan, so we install the package, then we require it, and then we want to stick it in the middleware. And we want to pass in one of the options. So tiny is going to be probably one of the smallest ones. Basically, you'll have the least amount of info. And if you want to find out more options you can pass in, just navigate to the docs and you'll be able to find all of the info. So let's keep on scrolling and notice here, we're going to go with dev because it will also add some colors here. And we'll be able to see the method, the URL, the status, and you can read the rest. Now, one thing that we'll add here is the condition, where I only want to do that if my node environment is not equal to production. And yes, once we push this up to production, once we host this on Heroku, Heroku will set this node underscore env, so node environment equal to production. And once we're in production, well, there's really no need to log that, correct? So say if node environment is not equal to production, yes, then I want to use app.use, so that's my middleware, and then I want to pass in the Morgan, which I just imported, and then I'm going to go with dev option because, again, it just adds nice colors. So let's start by setting up the install. So I'm going to stop the server, clear everything, and then let's go with npm install. Okay, beautiful. Then let's start up the server right away because it will take a little bit of time. And then back in the server.js, let's import the Morgan. And I think I'm going to do that right after express async errors. So import, then Morgan from, and of course the Morgan one. Then let's keep on going. And then I'm going to do that above express.json where I'll set up my condition and I'll say if process dot env, again, node environment variable, which is node underscore env, if it's not equal to production. If it's not equal to production, then awesome. Then we want to go with app.use, that's the middleware, and then we'll pass in Morgan. Like I said, in my case, the option I'm going to go with is dev. Let's save it. And now I'm going to swing back to the Postman and I'll set up some requests. So let's start with the register, but I'm looking for the 400 response because I'm going to try to register with already existing email. So let's send it. We get back 400. But what I want to showcase is the fact that in my console, I'll see this one. I'll see the method. I'll see the path and I'll also see the response. And again, this is very useful as you start having more routes and controllers because that way it's much more easier to see what's happening. It's very easy to make a small typo somewhere, let's say on your front end, or even in the Postman where you're hitting the route and actually the method is incorrect. Like you just saw with the patch one, where I was like, hey, listen, what's the problem? And it's actually the method. And this one is very useful. So let me also showcase that with my home route. So if I'm going to go here to the Postman, and if I'll just set up a dummy route, for example, here I have the URL. If I send it, I'm going to get back a message API. And again, in my console, I'll say get. So that means it's a get route, then API version 1, and then response is 200. And once we have the Morgan in place, now we can start setting up the login functionality.